Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the side.
It's the 49er Faithful UK show. With the season done, 32 teams are now all at different stages. Some are firing their coaches and GMs, some are firing their assistants, some are looking forward to the draft, and some are looking forward to Super Wildcard Weekend. And two teams, the Niners and the Ravens, get to enjoy the weekend like fans from their couches. I'm Gareth Ellis, and match fit, ready for the playoffs. It's Lee Gowland.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Najee Kra.
Hello everyone.
And Paul Hope.
What's up, Faithful?
Evening, gents. So, before we have a look ahead to the games, bit of monumental news we should probably mark in passing. End of an era for the NFL, I think, as well as the Patriots. Darth Belichick finally throws away his battered old hoodie. Let's not dwell on it too much. I think everyone knows about his career. But is he done like Vader, or is he going to rise again like Palpatine? Lee.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up coaching. I mean, he's already turned around and said he's not giving it in. He wants to coach again. I can well see him coaching either the Falcons or the Chargers. So it'll be interesting to see which one he does choose. I think the Chargers is the better option for him.
I agree. He said he was going to coach. I thought he was going to end up being the GM and just enjoy picking random players in a draft. Yeah, it's a bit of a...
Well, to be honest, Najee, I think that's the problem with Belichick. I think his GM skills is lacking.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's got the pull to be able to do it at the Patriots if he wants to. So, because he's been the GM for so long. Yeah, no, definitely end of an era. Him and Pete Carroll and Nick Saban all kind of retiring from coaching. It's crazy. It's three of the biggest names in football. I know you guys don't really know about Nick Saban, but he's the Belichick of college essentially. So it's weird. And then obviously Pete Carroll is, as much as we didn't like him, I think he's a great coach. National championship, Super Bowl winner. There's not that many. There's three of them in the world. So end of an era indeed. It's going to be weird next year with the new college rules as well and everything. It's crazy.
So Good Morning Football came up with a really interesting stat today when they were talking about Belichick moving on from the Patriots. And apparently Sean McVay was only 14 years old when Belichick started coaching the Patriots.
Started coaching the Patriots because he's
been
had a good,
before. Yeah.
However many, 10, 15 years in the league before the Patriots, surely.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was at the Giants as well, wasn't he?
He was
Super Bowl winner at the Giants, I think.
Yeah, he's from Parcells coaching tree.
Any thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, it was a surprise. I mean, the Pete Carroll news broke yesterday, Gareth, 10 minutes before me and Lee went live with our conspiracy show on Levi's, which the chat was all about Cheaty Pete. And Lee was like, God damn it, I can't call him that anymore. I found an old photo of Carroll in Niners polo shirt from his brief stint with us, and I nearly tweeted that out yesterday to say, good luck, Pete, but I thought I'd stay away from that. I mean, for me as an NFL fan, when I started my journey, the Patriots, Belichick, Brady. So the Chargers, I believe, have got the best quarterback, which Najee would agree with me, but they've got the worst cap space for next year. So depending on what your priority is, it would be interesting to see. But Najee, no excuses for your boy Herbert if Belichick goes there next year, surely.
Well, he's not an offensive coach, so maybe if McDaniels go there, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It'd be interesting if I can't see LA, trying to get fans and everything, get Belichick. That doesn't sell football, does it? These days, I don't know.
There's two things there. I don't know that I can see Belichick relocating to the other side of the country. Fair enough, that you're a coach, you don't have to move yourself and your family. You can obviously afford temporary accommodation and what have you. But it's going to be whether he can work with a GM and whether that relationship is going to work. If an owner says, well, I've got a GM, I'm employing you as the coach. Obviously at the Patriots, he had something beyond both. And it was a fairly unique position. I think that's probably what's going to swing it. And I imagine there are some owners out there who are going to say, you want my GM gone? I'll fire him in 15 minutes if you're on board. and I don't know whether that's going to be a good thing, because as you said, Lee, I think it's possibly it's similar with Pete. I think if one guy gets too much power in an organisation, if there's no one around who can say no or give him an option, then that's not a healthy thing. So, yeah, I was going to move on to Pete, but he's gone. I'm a bit gutted. I was quite happy for Pete to stay at Seattle, because I wouldn't think of them as a threat, because I don't think his style of coaching is perhaps up to date. Shall we just say that? And seem to be perhaps less effective. I know he achieved stuff in the past, but I also think one wing with the team he had for a decade and Russell Wilson isn't great. But there we go. He's gone, and I'm sure we will all be interested to see how that pans out, and whether he takes a job upstairs, and how much influence he still exerts on the team, in spite of not being the coach. That could be a very interesting dynamic to crack the popcorn and watch from afar, because I don't think it would go well. So, shall we look ahead to the NFC matchups that decide who gets to visit Levi's in the divisional round? Before we go to the games, I just want a simple answer. Which team would you want to face in the next round? Not who do you think we'll face, but who would you want to face? For me, it's the Eagles.
Interesting. I didn't think you were going to go Eagles.
Really?
For me, it's the Packers.
Yeah, I was going to say Packers.
I'm going to say the Eagles as well, same as Gareth, just because then there's no crying from last year. And I know the
It's
quarterback
unfinished.
is injured, but I would like to put that right wrong.
Good point, actually. But he is hurt. He's not right.
He is hurt, yeah. It's right, Nadji, but I just think the way last season ended, and then obviously since we went into their place and beat them, I think it would be nice.
It would. So, Packers Cowboys. Lee, I think this is your baby.
Yeah, so Packers Cowboys. Like I said, I mean, I want to see the Packers get through this, but I just can't see it. I can't see it at all. The Packers defense plays a 3-4 with Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith coming around the edge. They're pretty much their two best players on defense at the moment. They might be able to get some pressure on Dak Prescott, but I'm not holding out hope, because the Cowboys got a good O-line. Both teams have been pass heavy over the season. Both Deron Bland and Stephen Gilmore for the Cowboys will have the upper hand at cornerback. Looking at the wide receivers that the Packers have got, I think that matchup's favouring the Cowboys at the moment. Jordan Love, his rating drops to 80 when under pressure, 101.5 when thrown from a clean pocket. Looking at the pressure rates that the Cowboys produce, I think Jordan Love's going to be under pressure quite a bit. I think the Cowboys could be beaten deep if the Packers O-line can give Love and his receivers enough time, but I honestly believe those chances are going to be few and far between in this game, especially with it being in Dallas as well. I think for the Packers to do anything, they really need to balance the offense a bit, go away from the pass-heavy offense and either do a split 50-50 or actually try something completely different, because it's the playoffs, and try a run-biased approach. But if they do that, they really need to take DeMarcus Lawrence out of the run game by running to the opposite side. A little bit like what we do with Aaron Donald. We take him out of the game by moving the players away from him. I think if they do that with the run and try and establish that run, then I think they've got a shot at beating them if they do it that way. But if they try and just out throw them, I don't think they've got a hope in hell's chance. On the opposite side, the Cowboys, I think if they establish the run with Pollard to open up the passing game, then it's going to be a bit of a turkey shoot. You've got Jair Alexander, who isn't playing like he once was. I think CD Lamb will be lining up against him. I think CD Lamb's going to burn him every time. Alexander hasn't particularly had a very good season, and he's had a couple of injuries as well. So I think he's kind of shown his age with the way he plays. So it's a difficult one. I can think only bad coaching decisions will stop the Cowboys winning this one. But having said that, there's still a bloody good chance that might happen because of who's in charge of the Cowboys. So never say never. A little bit of a trivia piece for you. Potentially, we're going to see three Smiths on the field at the same time. We're going to have Preston Smith, the right defensive end for the Packers, and both Tyron and Tyler Smith, who line up at both left tackle and left guard, therefore going up against Preston Smith, all on the field at the same time. And would you want my my score prediction for the Cowboys Packers?
I think so. Yeah, chuck it in.
So the over-under is 50.5. The Cowboys are 7.5-point favourites. I think this is going to be a reasonably comfortable win for the Cowboys. I think it's going to be 34-20.
Oh wow, 20.
Nicely. That was a good, quick analysis. Why didn't you do that with Niners games?
Because there's
Sorry,
so much
it was-
more to talk about in Niners
Yeah.
games.
Of course, and that was only in jest. Paul, any questions for Lee? Really, I think he's covered it there. There's nothing there I disagree with. I think the wild card in this is Mike McCarthy's bizarre play calling.
Yeah, definitely.
As you said, I think if the Cowboys can avoid beating themselves, they should put the pack away.
No, I've got no questions. My friend who's a Packers fan, Nadji, been very quiet for months, and then today he sent me a text saying, "God damn it! If you could have not let the Rams beat you, we wouldn't have been playing the Cowboys." I was like, "Oh, I thought you were very confident going into this game." So I think he's a bit annoyed that the Packers have to go to Dallas. But no, I think Lee's covered it really well there, Gareth. And you clearly weren't watching the live last night because Lee admitted he may do a bit more prep for certain shows than others. That's all I'm going to say, Gareth. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I did. Sadly, I did miss the live
So
show.
something else I would say, when you look at the Packers' schedule and who they've beaten and by how much they've beaten them, it's not that impressive, and it's been a stop-start season for them. They haven't really gone on a decent run of wins. They've won, lost. They've had no real consistency, which is another reason why I think going into the Cowboys Stadium is going to be difficult for them. I think the Cowboys have only lost once there this season. They're fairly dominant, and when they do play at home, they put up large numbers.
And it's Joel Love's first playoff game. That's not easy to do. It's a different ball game. So let's see how he handles it. He'll learn from it. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Dallas should win this pretty comfortably.
And you, Paul, going for Dallas win?
Yeah, I think the Cowboys win this one.
Yeah, I've got them as quite a comfortable win. I think this is Packers have probably overachieved this season compared to their expectation, and I think some of those teams that sneak into the playoffs, you have that psychological. We've achieved our aim this year, and I think you just can't quite see them overcoming the Cowboys.
You never know. Yeah. It's the playoffs. Anything can happen.
It is the playoffs. It is the playoffs. But yeah, I think the Cowboys are going to have too much for the Packers. So Rams at Lions, Nadji. This was the one that you've done your in-depth preparation.
In-depth preparation.
12 minutes ago.
Not even now. Unfortunately, I've been extremely busy at work this week. I think I'm on 70 hours already. Anyway, I think to be fair, that's the matchup I'm looking the most towards, especially on the outside of the bracket. It's Matthew Stafford going back to Ford Field for the first ever playoff game there, which is pretty cool, against the old Rams QB, Jared Goff. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good game, I think. Although I very much like the Packers and the Cowboys, the Rams I think have been overachieving a little bit. The teams they have beat on the last stretch have not been that great. And yes, they've been playing really well. And I mean, I know they beat us in a game that meant nothing.
Yeah.
But I just think the Lions have been more consistent and just a better team overall. They almost clinched the number 2 seed. They just stopped messing around with their eligibility, 2-point conversion against the Cowboys. But there's also the fact that it's Dan Campbell's first playoff game. It's going to be a lot of emotions. It's going to be very difficult to keep that all under wrap, especially him. He's all about emotion full all the time. So with him and McVay on the other side with a lot more experience, even though not in age, is McVay going to give him something he was not expected? Is that going to fluster him in a game that you can't? It will definitely be a bad season if the Lions lose on that first game. So I think it's going to be a little closer than the Cowboys-Packers game. But the Lions, if they play properly and the way they've been playing so far, should put the Rams away pretty comfortably. Although Again, it's a playoff. Matthew Stafford is a good QB. Cooper Cup is amazing. Nakua is clearly a gem. And they could hurt that defense, who's been playing pretty well. But I don't know. I don't know if they have difference maker quite like the Cowboys do, for example, or we do, that can take on the game and not let them hang around too long. So I see a closer one. I think it's going to be quite high scoring, that one. And I think it's going to be 35-28 to the Lions. That's my prediction.
Good game.
Yeah, good. I think it's going to be a good game. Yeah, I can see a shootout. Just two teams going at it, nothing to lose, and the Lions coming on top.
Paul, what do you think?
Well,
that was a very good winged analysis there.
Oh,
Very
Nadji
winged.
Carrar. Nadji's the best at this. As I said on the live last night, Nadji, me and Lee were talking about when me and you stepped in, and I was like, we can wing it with the best of us, especially with Nadji, with his knowledge. But you mentioned Dan Campbell being emotional, Nadji.
Yeah.
Did you see that he's banned Detroit fans turning up at the stadium with Stafford jerseys? And he was like, if I see a Stafford jersey, you're not allowed in.
This is the kind of thing. Yeah, it's like, why? Just let people do whatever they want.
And I think what's underestimated, Gareth, is with Goff, the Lions have got the best out of him. They've played to his strengths. They've played to his play action, get the ball out quick. But McVay knows all about Jared Goff, and he knows his weaknesses. And I think, like you're right, Nadji, this is the game I'm looking forward to. My good friend Andy is a Lions fan. He's waited a lifetime for this game. And like you said, they were there and thereabouts. But I agree with you. I think the Lions should win this one.
I can see a lot of mistakes. A couple of picks from Goff. Stafford always has a pick or two in him as well, because he tries a little too hard sometimes. But yeah, I can see it being one of those shootout classic playoff games that we'll talk about for a while, hopefully.
Lee?
Yeah, I think the key to the game is whether or not the Rams are going to be able to get pressure on Aaron Donald, because the Lions O-line is by far their strength. They've got a really, really good O-line. If they can keep the pressure off Jared Goff, then it's theirs to lose, because Jared Goff has a passer rating of 114.5 when thrown from a clean pocket. Yeah. That absolutely collapses when he's pressured. He's only got a 62.5 rating when pressured. So I think if the O-line can give him a clean pocket, then there's no reason why the line shouldn't be favoured. However, according to the betting lines, they only favoured by 3 points, and you only get that when you're a home team anyway.
Yeah.
So it's evens, which kind of works out well, because I think that they are pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
Ironically, I think the Lions' best performance of the season was when they got beat by the Cowboys by 1 point.
I agree. But they've got a much better running game, which the Rams are really not that good at defending. The Montgomery-Gibbs duo has been really playing really well this year. So even if the Jared Goff train kind of falls flat, they can rely on that to try and snatch the game away. So I don't know. I think it's going to be hard for the Rams to win it. They'll have to play a very good game and then get under their skin and just show a bit more experience.
So if you just look back at Week 17, when the Rams were still playing for a playoff spot and they struggled against the poor Giants team. Yeah. They came out with the win, but they did struggle against the poor Giants team.
Should have lost that
game. They're not great. Forget last week's game, because, like you said, meant absolutely nothing. But I do feel as though the Detroit defense is there for the taking. I don't think they've got a particularly good defense. Or offensively, they look great. They look really solid, and they can definitely put points on the board. But I think it's going to come down to how well Detroit's defense plays. I think that's going to be the key to Detroit winning the game. I think it's going to be incredibly close. So close, I've only got 1 point in this. And believe it or not, I've actually got the Rams to shade this one, 28-27.
Ooh.
So is that a second pod in a row Lee's called the Rams win?
Yeah.
Well, I was right about the last one.
He loves his Rams.
He does love the Rams, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think this is one of the best matchups this weekend. I think there's a lot there that the Lions are the better team and at home, but the Rams have got the experience. The Rams have got nothing to lose, and the Lions do have that inexplicable meltdowns. They've done it a couple of times in the season where they just nothing's worked for them. There was a game, I think it was very early in the season, where they just made mistake after mistake after mistake and couldn't get out of their own way. There is a little bit of that maybe with the pressure. I don't know how any of the players are going to react. Obviously, the crowd is going to be well up for it, having never seen a playoff game in that stadium before. I think it's going to come down to which team starts well. I think, because I think they're both teams that if one of the teams can get in the lead and calm them down a little bit, I think they might take hold of the game. But it's my guess is as good as anybody's, and I think it's going to be within a field goal as well. But I do have the Lions perhaps just shading it, because I think the Rams might well, as you've said, the record has potentially flattered them. They might just run out of steam, having to go straight to another road game, and I think the Lions might just have enough to edge it by a point or 3.
Well, I hope you're right, because to be honest, the team that I don't want to play in the divisional round is the Rams.
Yeah, I don't like divisional opponents. It just adds. They're always odd in divisional games.
Yeah.
They can always go against the trend and against
It's almost
the spread.
like a banana skin.
Absolutely. So,
I mean, yeah. Oh, that's true.
so Paul, Eagles at Bucks.
Yeah, so when I was preparing for this one, chaps, it'll be the second time in 3 seasons that these two teams have faced each other in the playoffs. Do my best Gareth Ellis impression. The over-under is currently set at 43.5, and the Eagles are 3-point favourites, which I thought was significant given the Eagles are the road team. Look, especially when you think, Nadji, coming into this one, they're in a dreadful run of form, the Eagles. The start of the season 10-1, which all Eagles fans were beating us all about and telling us how great they were. They stumbled to the finishing line, losing 5 of the last 6. In contrast, Tampa Bay won 5 of their last 6 games after only winning 4 of their first 11, and they were crowned the champions of the NFC South for the 3rd year in a row. However, given the state of that division, it's not something I'd be jumping up and down about. Now, I haven't gone as in-depth as Lee on his on my analysis, but this matchup could end up a shootout. Both defences are poor. Both defences have struggled against the pass this year. It's fair to say the Eagles' defence is a shambles, and despite changing coordinators and getting Matt Patricia back in there, it's only made them worse. You look at the Eagles' defence, chaps, they're ranked 31st in opponent third downs. They're ranked 29th in opponent getting first downs against them, and the 24th in yards per play. And they are average in the QB pressure rate. They're down at 13th with only 20% pressure rate on the QB. They're ranked 16th at disrupting the pass, and the mediocre against the run. And the Bucks, on the opposite side of that, are very good against the run, but they give up 6.9 yards per pass attempt. Now, normally you'd think that'd play in the Eagles' hands, but given Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, and Devonta Smith are all questionable at this point, things that I've seen. I know the game's not till Monday. Baker Mayfield to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin could be the winner in this game when I've been doing my analysis, but I think it could be a shootout. It could be the weird game of the weekend. There's always one game that takes you by surprise, and I think this could be it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's going to be a super low-scoring, boring game.
Yeah. Ironically, I picked this game. When Gareth said, which game should you do? I thought, because you were at work, I'll leave you with the Rams. Lee said he'd do the Cowboys one. And then when I was looking at this one, maybe I've got a soft spot for the Bucks because we watch them over at Levi's. But both teams excel on third down offensively, which is weird. But they're equally terrible defensively. Like I've said, for the Eagles to win this one, it's going to have to come down to Jalen Hurts and whether those receivers are fit. For Tampa Bay, on paper at the moment, Gareth, this is a good matchup. They're going to be able to run the ball well. They're going to be able to utilise play action, which plays into Baker Mayfield's strengths. And I think due to their stout run defence, this will force the Eagles to try and beat them, like I've said, through the air. So I hope you're sensing where I'm going with this. I think Bowles and the Bucs defence have got the blueprint. A certain Nick Bosa has put the blueprint out there. Jalen Hurts has been the most blitzed quarterback since playing against us. No surprise, because it works. And I think this is going to be the upset of the rounds. I think the Eagles' injury is going to be too much. And I think the Buccaneers are going to win this one. And because I thought we were doing a score prediction game, Gareth, because you had me nervous, I think this is low scoring, like Nadji said, and I think it's going to be a Tampa Bay 24 to Eagles 21. I think it's going to be a close game, but it's not going to be a shootout in the score-wise. I just think it's going to be close in that one. So that is my analysis of this terrible game on Monday night.
Yeah, I'm not staying up for that one. Nadji?
No, yeah, I agree with you. We'll know more obviously when Hurts and Brown and Smith know if they play or not. Even if Hurts play, having a dislocated finger and playing a week after it's not easy. It's gonna hurt. He's not gonna be comfortable throwing the ball. And yeah, I think you're right. Baker Mayfield to Mike Evans. We're gonna see a lot of that. The back seven of the Eagles is atrocious. They've tried to fix it. It hasn't worked. And I think that's what they should do and try and do to attack it. And I think that's what they will. They're just going to go guns blazing to the Buccaneers level, which isn't really all that high. Yeah, I've got something like a 18 to 15 game, boring, couple of touchdowns here and there, and then that's it. And yeah, I've got the Bucs winning it at home. I think they'll have the upper hand. Playing outside. I mean, it's warm-ish outside in Raymond James. So
all the pressure's on the Eagles, isn't it, Nadji? Reigning NFC champions, they're coming in as 3-point favourites on the road.
I'm not sure they are under pressure because of the injuries, and I mean they got absolutely demolished by the Giants in a game they had to win as well. It's not like they could really take the rest. They were trying to win the division, and having a showing like that in a game you want to win against the Giants of all team is really poor, and I think mentally they've kind of checked out. And it wouldn't surprise me if they're just gonna go and try to win, which is never a good thing for a team. Yeah, well, I'm definitely not staying up to watch that.
Lee?
Yeah, so I'm similar. I think the Bucs might be able to turn the Eagles over here, especially if Jalen Hurts isn't playing. However, I mean, that might be an advantage to the Eagles at the moment.
That's
if
true.
It's Mariota playing. But I just don't feel it is. There's something dysfunctional about the team. The record flatters them. And I think Eagles fans have been saying this all the time as well. Even at the start of the season, they were saying, we can't believe we won that game. So I think the Bucs have got a good chance to pull off what everybody would see as a shock. And again, I think it's going to be a reasonably low-scoring game. Not as low as Nadji. And I can't remember what Paul's score was, but don't tell us because I'm just about to give my prediction. And I was going to go with the Bucs 24-20 win.
That's a 24-21.
24-21.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got quite a bit of a consensus here. I think dysfunctional was the word I was going to use for the Eagles. There does seem to be something broken in terms of the locker room, and whether that's relationship between players or players and coaches. Obviously, like you said, Patricia has come in. Maybe he hasn't had a chance to build a bond with the players, or they're not buying into what he's trying to do. It's clearly not working. You don't see teams like that progress in the playoffs. If you don't have a strong locker room to dig yourself out of falling behind in the third quarter of an away game in the playoffs, I just can't see the Eagles doing it. And I think the Bucs, they've still got some experience. You know, Baker Mayfield's been pretty good this season, and I think he's got to that maturity point where he's just playing football and he's not doing the off-field stuff or making the noise or all that sort of stuff, and realised you don't need any of that to play quarterback. You just need to go on the field and execute what you've been coached to do. And to be fair, he's gone out and done it reasonably well. So if this was in Philadelphia, maybe it would be something different. But I think you're right. I think I've got the Bucs edging it in a fairly dull, fairly low scoring affair. I'm not going to give a score prediction, but yours sound about right to me, and one that could be a bit of a snore fest.
If they win this one, Gareth, the Bucs, it'll be the third time in 4 years they've advanced to the divisional round. And Nadji talked about experience and that playoff knowledge and the coach, and that's why I've leaned towards the Bucs. So I just thought that was an interesting stat to throw out before we moved on.
Obviously, Brady moved on, but a lot of the rest of the team, from a Super Bowl winning team, is still there. They know how to win these games. So I can't see a divided and dysfunctional Eagles team going on the road to beat a well-organised, well-drilled, well-coached team that's possibly a bit lacking on the talent in some places, but they should still have enough to beat the Eagles.
So
So there we are.
if I'm correct, we all got Lions, we all got Dallas.
No,
I
Lee
went
loves the
Rams.
Rams.
Oh, Lee loves the Rams, of course. Okay, so the three of us have got us playing the Bucks again, and Lee's got us playing the Rams.
So yeah, we've got all of the division winners going through.
Yeah.
Which is odd because that rarely happens, does it?
That's
There's
true.
usually
That's very
one
true.
upset in there.
But you could argue the Bucks would be an upset given the
Well,
Red
yeah,
Eagles.
yeah,
so
yeah,
that was
absolutely.
the way I
Yeah,
went.
true.
To.
They're it's fifth at fourth, isn't it? So
Let's put it into the world. The Packers are gonna win it. Come on, Packers. That would be just so funny.
I was thinking that as well.
Yeah.
I think the Cowboys are just going to crumble.
Funny. It would be
It would be great for us,
yeah.
and also very funny.
Yeah, I mean the pressure on them is immense, and we all know that Mike McCarthy doesn't. He doesn't work well under pressure.
No,
Looking
that's
forward
gonna
to
be.
see
I'm
what happens.
definitely gonna watch that game because I can't wait.
So what you're saying is we want
Nada.
a Zeke Elliott moment like last year, Nancy.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Or a
2
Dak
years in a
Prescott
row.
like
So
the year before.
I just whilst we were talking about it, I was coming to that point towards the end. I was gonna ask you, give me a baldy on that Dallas Packers game.
Dak Prescott to line up his kick returner late in the fourth quarter to try and run it back to win the game.
I was gonna say something similar, but with what's his face, the defender. I'm so tired.
Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons, yeah, as
We've got you, buddy. Don't worry.
a kick returner trying to win the game, fumbles it in the end zone, and they lose on that.
Yeah, well, who knows?
I mean,
the
they put
Cowboys
Zeke
always
in center.
entertain in one way or another, don't they?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, that would be fun. But I've got to say, I think that's almost set up even nicely that the Cowboys will win one divisional game, and the whole "it's our year" and it'll all come out, and then the overconfidence as well. The bigger they go, the harder you fall. So. There we go. Those are the NFC matchups. I did have a brief look at the AFC matchups. I won't do them in as much depth. But starting on Saturday, Browns at Texans. I think this could be a cracker. The better team, I think, are on the road. They met in Week 16 with the Browns winning easily, but the Texans were without CJ Stroud. You've got two good defenses, two potentially dangerous offenses, two teams with decent pass rushes, and two teams with some questionable O-line play, but two teams with decent run games. I think this could be a cracking matchup. I have got the Browns just shading it. But
I've got Houston on the fairy tale winning it. I think that Joe Flacco, there's a reason he was on the couch for a while, and I think it's going to show in a game that really matters.
Experience, though.
Yeah, I know, but also no one picked him up. He was sat
The
on
reason
couch
I'm going
for
for it is the Texans' offense is great, but defense wins championships.
You got to think
And the Browns is good.
the reason he probably stopped playing football is because his body can't take that many games, and it's starting to be that many games. So I think it's going to start showing. And all it takes is one good hit from Will Anderson, and the game will be over.
So what were you thinking scoreline wise, Gareth?
I think this is too close to call. I think it's probably going to be something like 27-24.
Oh, Gareth. I've got 28-24. Browns.
Oh, well, you're wrong.
Browns
You
as
need to
well.
predict better.
I've got Houston 24, Browns 21.
I didn't look at the AFC one, so I'm totally winging it now, but I'm on the
Wing
same
it.
page as Nadji. I like Stroud. I think the Texans win, and I'll go 28-21, just
I'm
off the
out-
top of my head.
I'm happy to see the Texans win, and we know that secretly
Yeah, I am
Nagy
as
wants
well.
Jimmy Ward to win another playoff game. So
Jimmy Ward pick 6 to win it.
So this
Yeah.
pod's going to be called
that was
Lee Loves
clever.
the Rams with a bit of Jimmy Ward sprinkled in for Nadji.
Yeah.
I can see it all now. People are going to be like, what were you guys talking about for 45
Writing
minutes?
itself. No, I'm all in for Demeco and CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
play.
I'd love to see the Texans pull it off. I can't go against the Browns defense with
Yeah,
a rookie
with rookie QB. Yeah,
rookie
absolutely.
QB. He's missing one of his rookie wide receiver, and he
Yeah.
might have some questions on the O line.
Yeah, but
think that's-
you said they might think some teams that just don't really play the playoffs. It's dysfunctional. I think there's on such a high that even if they lose, they'll be happy, and therefore they'll play with so less care at home as well. No, yes, at home.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be a party, and it might just go well for them. So
Yeah, it could be, and we know D'Amico's going to get them fired up.
yeah,
So,
exactly. That's where I'm getting the edge on the Browns, which I've been kind of
so that's
surviving.
Saturday game, isn't it? And also Saturday night, Dolphins at Chiefs in the cold at Arrowhead. Our old friends Mike McDaniel and Raheem Mostert face a Chiefs team, struggling on offense, but big on defense, including another old mate of ours, Charles Omenihu, who's doing well on the Chiefs defense. The Chiefs beat Miami in Germany earlier this season, which was an odd game. I remember watching it, and it got going, and then nothing happened for large periods, and then there's the odd mistake here and there. I don't really remember a lot of it, but I remember it being slightly odd. I think this is another one too close to call. I've got to say, I can't see Miami handling the weather and the experience of Andy Reid. I've got this one down as a fairly low scorer, particularly if the weather's bad. But I think the Chiefs have just got the experience and the defense to edge it.
Yeah, I called the Dolphin win earlier, but I think because of the weather now and the fact that they've really been poor the past month, essentially, and the fact that the other teams got Pat Mahomes makes it. I've got the Chiefs on this one. You can never take the Chiefs out. Yeah, low scoring, some 20, 21, 17, something like that. Not many points. Cold, hard game. Nothing less.
So has it been forecast as a snow game?
It could well be.
Possibly snow, but certainly very cold, I think, was
Right.
the forecast.
Right, so I've went with a bit of a bigger scoring game, but the Chiefs winning it, 31-24.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Good game. Paul?
2 degrees.
I've gone for the Chiefs 28-17. I think if it was in Miami, I'd be leaning more towards Miami, but I think you're right. Arrowhead, the weather, the crowd, the noise. And I've seen a few Dolphins fans whinging that McDaniel hasn't really changed that much, which has surprised me. I saw one Dolphins fan said before he came in, they were 10-6. He's coming, and now they're 11-6 for an extra game. And I'm like, really? Are you really going there? But I don't know whether that's a Dolphins mantra. And a few people unhappy with the clip where he was shouting out about Dan Marino, where he was saying, F your records, we're coming for them. Now, I thought that was hilarious because I like McDaniel, but a few Dolphins fans have taken umbrage to that.
It's bold to take on a franchise, or the franchise legend, perhaps. I think the Dolphins just seem to have run out of steam and lost their way a little bit, and obviously lost a few pieces on defense. And their big scoring offense, I think, might well struggle in this kind of weather. However, there is always something about the Dolphins. They do have a good run game, and if Mostert's back, Mostert's pulled out a good postseason game before, and in the cold weather, some cold hands. The Chiefs have got some guys who are struggling to hold on to the ball. So I do wonder whether this is another one where there could be a couple of weird plays and the better team loses. But there we are. So finally, certainly for me, the least interesting matchup, I think, of the weekend, Steelers at Bills. The Bills are coming to some good form after the early season struggles. And I think the Steelers just continue to somehow grind out wins basically on the back of a really good defense. But TJ Watt, I understand, will be out of this game. I can't see anything else other than fairly comfortable win for the Bills at home.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I think this is going to be the biggest winning margin of the whole weekend. I've got the Bills 28-10.
I can't really see the Steelers actually shining in this one, especially without Watt. It's going to be very difficult for them to stop Josh Allen. big game, big win from in the snow probably from the Bills, 35-10. Bush.
Paul?
I had 31-17 written down for the Bills win, so I'm going to stick to that. I think even Steelers fans would take that at this point. They're just glad to be there, which is weird given the franchise history, but there's a few.
But all season long I've talked about learning how to win games, and Mike Tomlin has taught that team how to win games, and it's definitely a skill. It's not something you have or you don't. It's a skill you can learn, and it's something you need to be able to achieve. And they're just good at scrapping games. And if we could get there, because we haven't really needed it this year, if we could get what they have, that thing, I don't know how you do it exactly, because otherwise I would tell you. But if the Niners could acquire that skill and just win those games that are so close to be won, and you need one thing or two, we would be unstoppable. But this is the prime example of a team that knows how to win games. But not that one. Don't think.
Yeah, I think making the playoffs is going to be a successful season for the Steelers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, and that's going to be enough when the game's getting away from them in the third quarter. I think some of those players are going to be thinking about the off season, and thinking that the season's been a success to get there. So there we go. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up, lads? Bit of a shorter show, but we will. We're not really that interested in all these other teams, are we?
One more week to enjoy this season. That's been fantastic for us.
Yeah.
I think the weekend would be a success if both the Packers and the Lions won. In fact, Packers Lions Bucks.
Yeah.
If all them three win, that's a bloody good weekend.
Yeah.
For us.
Well, all three win after bruising overtime matches.
Yeah.
That's what I want. That's what I want. Every single game to go to overtime.
Fair point.
Put those miles on the clock for any opponents we're going to face.
Yeah.
So if we play the Bucks, don't we get an extra day's rest? Have I read that right? Isn't there certain connotations where, depending on who you play, like we don't know whether we're playing the Saturday night or the Sunday night, and there's arguments for. Obviously, we can get into that next week.
At this point of the season, I mean, a day might make a difference, but it's not that much. Everybody's hurting. Everybody's hurt.
A day would make a difference to them more than us.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the difference between 6 or 7 days there's something there, but the difference between 13 and 14 days isn't as much. So
yeah, true.
Great stuff. Thanks for joining me, lads. That was a good whip round. Nice to have a look at some other teams. Thanks to everyone who listens and watches the show. Who do you think is going to win at these weekend games? Let us know. But I will put a poll on Facebook, I think, to ask the question of who do you want to face in the divisional round, not necessarily who you think will win and get through. We will be back next week to pick over any news and fallout from the Wildcard Weekend. So enjoy it. It's a rare sort of weekend. It's the postseason, but the Niners aren't playing, but it's a good thing. So enjoy the playoffs. Keep your fingers crossed for those overtime bruisers, and go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang, Niner gang.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the